All right. We are now diving into week 2, where I want to go deeper into this idea of the quantum and that you are a part of the quantum. So I am Reverend Amani Malaika, and this week I want to talk about breaking free and taking the quantum leap into greater good. You know, one of the things that we talked about previously is that in order to know yourself as literally a wave in the one, as the one, a piece and particle and wave of the Holy Blessed One, you have to break free from the conditioning and the crap. So breaking free of all the crap that's in the way of knowing ourselves as one of the one, right? So I want to share with you from Amit Goswami, who is a physicist and wrote a book called God is Not Dead. And one of the ways that he explains is that we operate from the ego and our individual patterns of conditioning. Our experiences, being predictable, acquire an apparent causal continuity. And I know there's a lot of big words, you guys. I'm going to break it down. Just hang on. As a result, we develop a greater sense of our personal self. We feel separate from our unitive whole self and from our God consciousness. It is then that our intentions do not always produce the intended results. So I want to break it down, that whole little few sentences. Amit says, when we operate from the ego, and what I would say the lesser or smaller self, and our individual patterns of conditioning, so when we're operating from our smaller personal self and our conditioning, our experiences become predictable and acquire an apparent causal continuity. This is Amit Goswami saying, you've drank the Kool-Aid. What that means is, because of conditioning and because you and I identify ourselves as these separate individual personalized units, and we like it. We like to feel unique, right? We like to feel autonomous. But what happens is we become so identified with our personality, with our shape, and we become so identified with that, we disconnect from our greater self, which is always fluid and expanding and in motion, right, as part of this quantum of the one. So our consciousness of this far greater self, who is more than just this unique personal shape, I am that, and I am much more than that. But when you and I become conditioned to know ourselves as just that, we then become predictable in how we live. Have you noticed, like me or many of us, that there are patterns and habits in your life? Some that you don't really like. Yeah? Those patterns and habits are part of the conditioning and what Amit calls the apparent causal continuity. Apparent causal continuity. Which means it appears that the cause of these habits is continuous and there's no way out. It appears that this is just how it is, right? This is just me being me. I am a person who has this issue, right? I drank the Kool-Aid. This is just what people do. Of course it's going to go down like that. Of course the country is going to do that. Of course there will always be people in poverty. That's just what happens. It's just what is. And it becomes predictable because we have conditioned and drank the Kool-Aid and cannot imagine another possibility. We don't even think of another possibility. We just accept, like, this is how it is. This is how people are. This is what society does. There's always going to be the haves and the have-nots, right? The better and the less. There's always a gender binary. Apparent is key, apparent causal. And we think the cause of those habits is like nature or something, right? We think that's coming into being because that's just how life is, what life does. But that's conditioning. Whether it has been happening for millennia or happening just in your lifetime, that is conditioning. And in order to take a quantum leap, to leap into some new possibility, to be able to imagine ourselves beyond this moment right here as it is, we have to break free from conditioning. And I don't think we like that part in metaphysics. We like the magic. We like affirmations. Just give me the right affirmation to say. And it's not how it works, because that conditioning is often subconscious. You know, like that image they show all the time in all kinds of settings of like the mountaintop. And when the mountain meets the sea, the biggest part of the mountain is actually under the water. That's your subconscious. That's a lot of where our conditioning lives. Some of it's even genetic, has been handed down from ancestors. So the work of breaking the conditioning, breaking free of habit and pattern of thought that is untrue, it's big work. But I want to share with you what I think we can do about this idea that without conscious awareness that the ultimate reality and your place in it will continue to be inaccessible to you. And what Tricia Hersey, who wrote the book Rest is Resistant, tells us, deprogramming from grind culture, or what I would call toxic capitalism, patriarchy, colonialism, imperialism, pick your poison. Deprogramming from grind culture must come from a place of that which has never been done. We must fold ourselves into a reality that is far away from what we are given every day by oppressive systems. I love this idea because for those of you who've got that science mind and love the quantum physics, you know, there's this whole idea that manifest reality comes into form because it collapses, right? That's a thing in science. That it collapses because somebody has put attention and intention on it and it collapses into form. So you and I can collapse, can fold ourselves into a new reality. And one of the ways that we can do that is begin to know that it's a possibility. Can fold ourselves into an imagined universe that then has the possibility of being this new world that you and I want to create together. This world of love and this world of compassion and this world of belonging and acceptance and all the things. But first, we've got to be willing to divest, deprogram, at least step away from for moments. Right? This is one of the reasons why spiritual practice is so critical. Spiritual practice is not going to be the thing that creates your new consciousness. Spiritual practice is the thing that gives you the possibility of accessing your full self. And your full self is there, period, is waiting for you to fold yourself into this new reality. And it's new because you haven't thought of yourself as that yet, right? Because we haven't imagined the world yet that we want to be living in. But in order to do that, we cannot do it from this program, habituated, conditioned place. We can't keep trying to build something new with the old forms. So a simple practice in your life could simply be, I'm going to do something new. I'm going to think something new. Begin to dip your toe in the water of possibility. And feel that out. Fold yourself into that reality. That's what Tricia Hersey is talking about. And I will say that her book is called Rest is Resistance. And it's called that because in order to begin to fold, to imagine, to dream a new reality, we've got to slow down. And I'll talk more about that later in the series. But the other thing I want to talk about is accessing this imagining, accessing this new reality in your own consciousness. How do we do that? And I was thinking about in the Gospels, most of the Gospels that were not included in the Bible as we know it today, in the Christian Bible as we know it today. But when in those Gospels written by the disciples that didn't get published, the ones that I happen to like more, they, especially Mary Magdalene's gospel, at the end of every teaching from Jesus of Nazareth, it would end with the phrase, anyone with 2 ears capable of hearing should listen. Anyone with 2 ears capable of listening should listen. Every time he preached, that's how he would end his preaching. I think that is what it is meant by this conditioned causation. The truth is always speaking, but can you hear it? Is your conditioning so strong that it's like walking around with cotton in your ears, unable to hear truth? Like walking around with your hands over your eyes, unable to see a new possibility. This is that idea of like we have to awaken. Because it's conditioning that's got us asleep. This awakening, this listening, that potential lives in every one of us, period. I don't care what you've done, where you come from. But you got to take the cotton out of your ears. You have to be willing to walk through your lives, eyes wide open, hearts wide open, so that you can see, hear, feel truth. Because it is from that place when you are listening for it and looking for it and like really watching for it, that is the place when you knock into truth and you feel yourself into truth that is going to give you the possibility to take a quantum leap. To leap into a new reality, to leap into a new set of awesome habits, to leap into the change you want to see in your life. But it cannot happen if you are convinced that this predictable causation is unbreakable. If you are convinced that people are bad, that we can't change. If you are convinced that they will never let you. All conditioning. One of the ways I want you to prepare yourself for a quantum leap, to break free from conditioning so that you can quantum leap into a new reality, is to become skillful with your awareness and your presence. To be the one who has ears to listen, who has eyes to see, who has a heart to feel, all of those things. The practice is presence and awareness. And one of the ways that I think you can practice is to become more present to beauty. I believe beauty is one of God's characteristics, natural characteristics. And I want to share with you from a book I've been reading by Cole Arthur Riley called This Here Flesh. So juicy and good. Go read it. If you want to know if you've forgotten how to marvel, try staring at something beautiful for 5 minutes and see where your mind goes. So that's the practice I want you to do this week. Slow down for at least 5 minutes and stare at something beautiful, or listen to birds singing or a beautiful piece of music. And 5 full minutes, give your full attention to that beauty. And notice, where does your mind go? Is it a strenuous activity to stay focused on beauty? But I want you to do it every day, because at the end of the week, you will notice that 5 minutes gets easier. And your ability to suss out the beauty that is good in God, the beauty that is natural to you in life, and to begin to dip your toe into a new reality that is made up of beauty and wonder and good, becomes possible because you do this practice. You grow your capacity to hear and see and feel the beautiful nature of truth. That's your practice this week. Blessings, beloveds.